Guess who's back? Back again. It is us, the Under Review podcast for season 2. Minus our wonderful friend James Wilson. I'm James Jackson, your host, with Brett Wiseman in his fantastic Green Bay Packers jersey, as well as my brother Cody Jackson, who live from Las Vegas and on location in his Derek Carr jersey. Cody, how are you?
I don't know where I'm at. Why do you have me held hostage in this closet?
Cody is on a brief delay, but so the answers will be kind of delayed on him, the questions, but just bear with us. Brett, how the heck are you, buddy? It's been a long time.
I am doing very well as soon as I can figure out how to position my camera without my legs falling asleep. I'm doing very well. Working at Dick's Sporting Goods, which is always nice. And other than that, trying to do broadcasting related things.
And, football's back again, and we're happy to talk about it. But a lot has happened in NASCAR, so might as well just start there. We've missed a couple weeks, and in that couple weeks, a lot of stuff has happened. Like Bubba Wallace has a new team with Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan starting their own team, hiring Bubba as the driver. Brett, we had mentioned before on I believe the last episode of last season, is Michael Jordan a good owner of a basketball team?
He's
And
not.
I feel like the collective answer was no. And now he's starting a NASCAR franchise. As all three of us are NASCAR fans, Brett, what is your initial thought on Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan starting this team and having Bubba on the roster?
I think it's fantastic for the sport. When you get somebody that's an icon like Michael Jordan to enter in, and I knew this long before that MJ had been a NASCAR fan all his life. His dad would take him and his siblings to races growing up, and he's been seeing it at a number of different tracks and a number of different races over the years. And he's a motorsports enthusiast in general. He's huge into F1. He's done a lot of stuff with motocross and supercross and GT biking and IMSA and IndyCar, and he's a huge motorsports guy, and nobody knows that, but NASCAR is like number one on his list. So him and Denny Hamlin, I don't know if anybody knew this, Denny Hamlin bought season tickets or started buying season tickets to then Bobcats games in Charlotte in 2009, I believe, which was the first time they made the playoffs under that moniker, which was the same year in the middle of that Jordan bought the majority ownership of the franchise. And Hamlin would sit next to Jordan courtside next to the then Bobcats bench, and they got to talking. Denny Hamlin eventually became the first Jordan brand NASCAR driver with the Jordan brand fire suit and the Jordan brand racing shoes made specifically for him. You can't buy this anywhere. There's no Jordan brand FedEx apparel. This is only stuff that Denny Hamlin has. Denny Hamlin built a basketball court in the basement of his home on Lake Norman and regularly has pickup games with NASCAR drivers in his Jordan brand sponsored basement. So that being said, it's big for the sport to get somebody like Michael Jordan that's an icon in the sports world, but you touched on the fact that he's not a great owner. I've said this all the time. He's the greatest basketball player of all time and the single worst evaluator of basketball talent in the history of the planet. Look back to 2003 when he was, or 2002 rather, when his first official draft with the Washington Wizards. You know, he picked number 1 overall.
No.
Kwame Brown.
That didn't age well.
It did not.
We talked about this last season. It didn't age well at all.
Yeah, then he traded for Kwame Brown when he bought the Bobcats.
And look, like, Cody, we're going to get your opinions here on a second, but Michael Jordan, you can have your opinion on him being a good owner or not, but at the end of the day, he's got the financial backing.
Right.
Denny Hamlin knows how NASCAR works inside and out because, you know, he's been around that his whole life in racing. He knows it. He knows what it takes to win. He's in one of the most successful teams in NASCAR, especially this year. One of the winningest drivers this season. Like, the dude knows how to get it done. So you get Michael Jordan's money, you get Denny Hamlin's money and knowledge of the sport, and I see like that being a good pairing. But then you have Bubba Wallace named the driver, that's opportunity, and that I can see Bubba finally getting the shot he needs. I mean, there's not going to deny it. He's not been in the best equipment his whole career. I mean, he was in Roush when they were going downhill. I mean, he was with them when they won their last Xfinity championship, but since then they went downhill. And then RPM went downhill. He was running for mediocre truck teams after KBM. It all went downhill. KBM was the only successful or good ride he had. So I feel like this could be a good opportunity. And Cody, what are your thoughts on Bubba being named the driver and, first of all, this team being created?
I think it's a good thing for the sport, obviously. Brand new team. MJ, like you guys were talking about, it's going to be flowing money into this thing like nonstop. Denny has the knowledge for the sport itself. And then with Toyota, you can't forget that it's going to be a Toyota-backed team trying to expand their lineup right now with the sport because a lot of their smaller teams have been going down. If they get enough backing with all that stuff and with Bubba, with the talent he has, hopefully it'll be enough to make them a competitive team. Obviously, we've seen how Bubba can perform. He's been pretty consistent this year, regardless of what any of the naysayers want to say this year. He's been fairly consistent. It's been his best year, I think, the Cup Series. And we saw this past weekend at Talladega. He nearly damn won that thing until he got wrecked. So he's going to be competitive next year, and I'm real excited to see what he's going to do with that team and with the money and the backing with all that. I think the logistics are going to be a little weird with Denny running on an opposite team, but I think once Denny's nearing the end of his career, if he can perform, he's going to be able to end his career on top and then kind of transition over to that owner-driver type deal that Stuart Haas, like Tony, was doing when he beat up. So I feel like it's going to be a competitive team. Hopefully next year we'll be able to see how that goes, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be pretty competitive.
I'm glad you actually mentioned Talladega too, because that race was full of controversy as well as some pretty interesting racing. What are your guys' thoughts on the double yellow line rule? Because that seemed to be a nightmare. When it was first introduced, the first driver it really affected was Regan Smith and that Tony Stewart incident with Regan Smith where Tony clearly forced him below the double yellow line, and NASCAR said, no, Regan went there intentionally and took the win away. Now, fast forward to 2020, that there was all kinds of people getting forced below the double yellow line, people going below the double yellow line that necessarily weren't forced, and NASCAR penalizing maybe the wrong people, in which instance Matt DiBenedetto, who finished second, who realistically probably should have won, being that Denny Hamlin went below the double yellow line. Brett, what are your thoughts initially? And Cody, we'll get to you here in a second, but what are your thoughts on the double yellow line rule? And was Denny Hamlin out of line there? Should he have been penalized?
I think we need to get rid of it completely. And mainly for the fact that there's no way to do it with any sort of consistency, right? You know, if you were to have this rule at Las Vegas, it'd be a lot easier to enforce because you're not racing in packs. When you have pack racing like this, it is very, very difficult to tell with any consistency whether somebody was forced, whether someone went down there intentionally. There's no way you can tell if someone steers down there or if someone's literally forced down that way. You talked about when it was introduced, the first race it was introduced was the July Daytona race in 2001. Tony Stewart was deemed to have gone below the yellow line in the closing laps, was penalized, refused to answer the black flag, and eventually took a top 10 away from Mark Barton, who finished second in points to Jeff Gordon. So you think about the impact of that. Let's move to Sunday. Chase Elliott was originally, before the review, finished 15th. And that would have put him outside of the cut line for the round of 8 going to the Roval. NASCAR went back and looked at it and said that the 17 forced him below the yellow line. He's good. No penalty rescinded. When you have somebody like DiBenedetto, who's not a playoff driver, and you have somebody like William Byron, who was forced below the yellow line by DiBenedetto, which is, in my opinion, he's trying to win the race. You can't penalize a guy for blocking. There's not supposed to be an out of
Yeah.
bounds in this sport to begin with. And that being said, you can't penalize a guy for blocking is racing. You can't penalize a guy for blocking. It rubs me the wrong way because there's no consistency.
Yeah, the whole thing was developed for safety measures back then because they were using the COT. If you were in that car, nobody liked it. They were basically airplanes with wheels, like those things we could airborne nonstop. And Talladega was like the main area where that would be a problem. So when we've developed the car now, we're with the Gen 6 car, and they're even making the next gen car here soon. Like, it's not really applicable anymore. And you're encouraging these guys. You're wanting them to maintain their line, which is encouraging them to continue to wreck. And NASCAR is making this argument of super speedway racing is dangerous now because there's so many wrecks. But you're encouraging these guys not to save their cars and go down the line. So you're telling them, okay, maintain your line and wreck these guys. So they got to really get more uniform with what they want. Let the guys race and let them get to the freaking finish line before this stuff just gets too out of hand. And if you saw Junior's rant on it, he's not too happy about it. A lot of people on Twitter weren't really happy about it. I think a lot of people think Jones probably should have won the race by all the penalties and whatnot, but that's a different argument. But it is what it is at this point. They just really need to kind of take a step back and reevaluate it because the line rule probably doesn't affect much with these cars, I guess, is what needs to happen.
Well, like realistically, Denny Hamlin, I don't think was forced below the double yellow line. First of all, it was in the corner. Who goes below the double yellow line in the corner? Second of all,
people online in Heat 5.
Yeah, really. But like he shouldn't have been even in that position to begin with. It should have been honestly a race between DiBenedetto and Byron, if anything. And I want to talk about DiBenedetto for a quick second. That this guy is having the worst luck. Comes second all the time. It seems like he only comes second to Denny Hamlin when it happens. Like of all people, and he lost to Denny Hamlin, who realistically who should have realistically been penalized, and not so.
Talk about somebody else who's having a great year.
Yeah, not only did they take away his second place finish. Well, not only did he finish second, they took away his second place finish because they penalized him for forcing Byron below the double yellow line. So he went from second to 22nd, which that adds insult to injury. I mean, the dude's already heartbroken that he didn't get first, and now you're going to slap him with a penalty and say, hey, you're going all the way back to the lead lap or the last car on the lead lap. It's ridiculous. I just don't see a need to keep doing the double yellow line rule if you're, like you said, Cody, not going to be uniform with it. They keep changing how they're going to enforce it every year, it seems like. So as fans, when we're watching and we want to say, oh, well, that's clearly a penalty because he went below the double yellow line, you would think they'd enforce it, and they don't. And then there's just all kinds of drama that's unnecessary. So I feel like they just need to fix it and move on from that.
Another point for the weekend itself, both the trucks and the Xfinity race ended with a caution on the last lap because there was a wreck on the backstretch. Same thing happened at the end of the Cup race. There was a wreck on the backstretch, but they didn't throw a caution. They let him run on the line just because it's the Cup Series. Like, if you're going to do that, you need to be consistent throughout the entire weekend because you ended it under caution. If they had done that, DiBenedetto would have won that race. So it's just them being inconsistent with the rulings.
Yeah, the field would have been frozen. It would have been a completely different story. Moving on from the, I guess, shit show of Talladega, Justin Marks is starting a new Cup Series team with Daniel Suarez the driver. Yeah. And I was completely wrong. My initial thought was Daniel Suarez would be going to the 43 car. I mean, it made perfect sense. You had Bubba Wallace as the minority driver at RPM. He leaves. Why not bring in another minority driver in Suarez? But I guess I was wrong because he went to Justin Marks' new team, which that's a major what if situation. I mean, if you nobody knows how that team's going to go. Personally, I think it's going to be a back marker. I could be wrong. I mean, Suarez has talent, but I don't see that team being anything relevant. What are your guys' thoughts on that situation with Suarez?
Well, for me, it's tough to really put a finger on it right now because, like you said, this is a completely new venture, and we don't know how well this team's going to perform. Even though it's Chevy team, so obviously it's going to perform well. Chevys are the best, but that being said, we know Suarez has the talent, right? And we know what kind of guy Justin Marks is and what he's trying to put together. I think there's definite potential there. We just don't know. We don't know the true level of funding that team's going to have. We don't know what the Chevy alliance might be, whether it's going to be with RCR, whether it's going to be with Hendrick. Hendrick and RCR have already basically teamed up. We don't know if Ganassi is going to get involved in any way, shape, or form. So it's tough to put a finger on it right now as how well that team's going to perform. But we know Justin Marks is we know what he's capable of and what he's trying to build, and we know that Daniel Suarez has the talent. He just hasn't been put in a good enough ride yet to show it, just as Bubba hasn't. So, it's a we'll see kind of thing at this point, for me at least.
Can you really say that though? Because he was at Stewart Haas for a little while. He was at Joe Gibbs for a little while. I think he had the opportunities, but he was at the lower tier car of those teams.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He wasn't put in.
Yeah.
He was kind of thrown into those cars to fill a seat, in my mind, basically. Those teams were not the focus of either. Those cars were not the focus of either of those race teams. He was thrown in to fill
absolutely.
in Carl Edwards because nobody expected Carl Edwards to retire. He was brought in because he was an Xfinity driver in Joe Gibbs' system and thrown in to fill that seat. Now Martin Truex has that seat. The 41 car. He was thrown in to fill while Cole Custer was still up and coming in the Xfinity series in the Stewart Haas stable. Austin Cindric's in that same position now with Penske, but there's no car to throw him into, basically.
Well, that's going to happen with Brad Keselowski next year.
Right. Suarez has had the luxury of being in those rides and getting that experience. And, he's been with Levine Family Racing this year, which is a heavily underfunded team. I think if he goes somewhere where somebody, I think, truly believes in him and has tabbed him specifically for this ride, Justin Marks came to him and I guarantee you said, I know you can drive. I know you can do well. If I put you in the equipment and give you the team to do it, I know you can. He's giving him the keys to this operation, basically. So, Justin Marks has got to have some sort of belief in Daniel Suarez, and it's going to be good.
And one thing I saw, I think it's a Chevy back team, right?
It is. Yeah.
And so it's a Chevy back team with an RCR alliance.
Correct.
Which is like the fourth team this year with an RCR alliance. Like all the Chevys, I guess,
by proxy,
are going to be RCR.
Yeah.
By proxy, now that's a Hendrick alliance as well. But yeah.
Correct.
Well, speaking of
RCR teamed up, like the only Chevy team that hasn't said anything is Ganassi, I think.
And we're going to touch on Ganassi here because, I thought Bubba was going to originally go to the 42 car. Everything kind of seemed to line up perfectly that Bubba would, with the sponsors and everything, that he would go to the 42 team. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So Ross Chastain's taking over, which I am so happy for Ross that he gets the opportunity. I felt so bad for the guy after the Xfinity program shut down, not by his fault at all, but purely just DC Solar shitting the bed, so to speak, when they got raided by the FBI.
Yep.
So Ross Chastain finally gets his opportunity to prove what he's worth in a top tier Cup ride. Do we think Ross is going to capture a win next year, or how is he going to perform in that 42 car?
I think he'll be pretty good. He might not win a race, but he'll definitely be contending at some places, especially with the talent he's got. And with Ganassi, Ganassi's going to have like a great year next year with freaking Ross running the 42, Kurt staying in the one car. Over an Indy car, he's getting Jimmy Johnson in his cars. Like, he's going to have a great year next year. So I'm pretty sure he's going to be excited to put as much effort and money into these cars. So I think he's going to give Ross the opportunity he really deserves next year. And they'll be competitive at some places. Win might, maybe he'll be close at some of the super speedways, maybe on the road courses, but it'll be hard with that 42 is more of like a 10 to 15th place car. So unless he can really push it, we'll see how it goes.
Well, I mean, at this point, you said it's a 10 to 15 place car. Matt Kenseth's just a seat holder. I mean, I wouldn't say they're really pouring money into the 42 car this year, just because it's not their main driver and they weren't really competing for points with Matt Kenseth. I mean, let's face it, he was just kind of there to fill a seat just so they can get the sponsors happy. Brett, what are your thoughts on Ross Chastain getting the opportunity?
I think it's long overdue. And you said, that was just an unfortunate situation with the Xfinity sponsor getting raided by the FBI and causing the entire team to shut down because that's where all the funding was coming from. And now we know where the source of said funding was a Ponzi scheme. So, and Cody, I like that you touched on, Ganassi's overall outlook because, their IndyCar stable isn't something that I think gets talked about a lot. It gets overlooked because of Penske's involvement with IndyCar and their domination, really, of IndyCar. It's going to be a challenge, I think, to start because Ross has very, very limited experience in the Cup Series. I thought he did a really admirable job when he filled in for Ryan Newman for those first couple of races after the 500 before the pandemic. And I don't think it can be questioned that he can win. For me, it's tough because, Ganassi's just not on the same level, at least not now, as Hendrick, as RCR, as far as Chevys go. They're one of those middle of the pack teams. And for me, they get solid finishes and that's great point wise, but when it takes Kurt Busch until October, late September to get his first win, that doesn't bode well for me for Ross because the way I know Ganassi operates, they don't put more into one car than they do in the other car. Like say it, they do it like we talked about with Stuart Haas and Joe Gibbs. Those two cars get the equal amount of attention basically. So there's a lot of potential there, and that's already a great race team. Matt Kenseth's just filling that seat right now. I think Ross certainly has the potential to get some wins in the Cup Series. He's just going to there's going to be a bit of a learning curve.
And we're going to move away from NASCAR here in a quick second, but I guess the elephant in the room here is the major buildup for Hendrick Motorsports on who would be the driver of the 48 car. We all thought it was going to be, I don't know, some people thought Kyle Larson, some people thought Bubba Wallace. I thought Corey LaJoie. Sorry, Brett, name redacted. Forgot we don't say that name here.
Yeah,
but I there was a rumor that Alex Bowman obviously was named the driver of the 48 car yesterday or Tuesday as this podcast comes out. He was named the driver of the 48 car, is going to take over Ally as a sponsor. It was so much build up only to know it was inside the Hendrick stable that they're going. And one of my friends, Danny B Talks, Daniel Baldwin, I messaged him on Facebook and I was like, dude, all that build up for an in-team driver just to swap rides. And he said, if you had told me in like 2017 that Alex Bowman was taking over for Dale Jr. and Jimmy Johnson, I would have called you crazy. And now Alex Bowman's suddenly taken over for two legendary drivers in NASCAR. So I guess what is our expectations of Alex Bowman in the 48 car next year, as well as what happens to the 88 team? I mean, from what I've heard from my sources is that if Bowman was to go to the 48 car, the 88 team would shut down. I mean, I feel like that's what's going to happen is the 88 team is becoming the 48 team because I heard he's bringing over his crew chief and spotter from the 88. So I have no idea.
Well, that's not actually going to happen from what I remember seeing. Chevy has a contract with Hendrick to have 4 cars. So they're probably just going to rebrand the 88 team from what I'm guessing. So they're going to have to sign somebody to that 4th team. It's just a matter of who it's going to be. And with Bowman going to the 48, getting a primary sponsor like that, it leaves that 4th car kind of ambiguous for sponsors. So everyone's speculating it's probably going to be Larson, but it's up in the air at this point. There's a lot of talent out there in the pool, and Larson still hasn't submitted his reinstatement request, I guess. So it's all up in the air right now. Chevy is going to be the big deal breaker on that if they want involved at all. So
and that's where the question
yeah.
is that I'm sorry to cut you off. We'll let you continue here in a second, but like people seem to forget that Chevy cut their bow ties with him.
Yep.
You see what I did there? Yeah.
Wow.
But they cut ties with him.
Pause for laughter.
They cut ties with Larson, so I think people seem to forget that. Whether I guess they can rescind that offer. I don't know. I guess they can bring it back if they want. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know. You guys tell me what you think, and who are we seeing for the 5 or 88? Do they bring back the 5 car?
That's I think absolutely they should bring back the
5, 25, 57. I've heard, so it's going to be really weird.
57?
Why 57?
No.
Look, they apparently own that, and that's Larson's dirt number. But apparently Hendrick has that number somewhere. I just heard that on Eric Estep's video. I'm not entirely sure on that one.
That's so weird of a number.
Look, as a lifelong fan of not only Jeff Gordon / William Byron, but also Hendrick Motorsports in general, excuse me, there's historical significance to both the 5 and the 25, more so the 5, because Texas Terry.
Or Jeff 09. You know, the GOAT.
The 25.
Casey Kane or Mark Martin.
No. we don't talk about
Kyle Busch
tomorrow. No. Okay, but that's historical significance. Kyle Busch took over for Terry Labonte. He drove the number 5 Lowe's Busch car for Hendrick.
Okay, and when you're thinking of Hendrick numbers, you also think of 25 car as well, because you got like Casey Mears was in the 25 car. Yep, you had Chase Elliott started his career in the 25 car in the Cup Series because he ran like 5 races in the 25 car.
Correct. That was a trial run because he was going to be in before that had already been decided. But Cody, you said there's a lot of guys in the talent pool. Look, personally, as a fan of Hendrick Motorsports, I don't want to see Kyle Larson in any of our cars, just because I don't want any of that controversy near HMS, and I can almost guarantee you that Rick Hendrick and Chevy don't either. Not only does Chevy have that contract for the 4-car ride, I made this point to you, James, a little over a month ago when we were speculating about all of this, that if Hendrick wants to remain competitive, they need that 4th car because all the other top tier teams, so to speak, other than Penske, have 4 cars. JGR has 4 cars. Stewart-Haas has 4 cars. So if you want to stay on that level as the only Chevy team with 4 cars, you need the 4th car. I think the one guy no one's talked about that should be discussed for whatever number this ride is going to be, because it should not be the 88. And I'll get to that in a second. Eric Jones. We need to look at Eric Jones because there is somebody that has proven he can win. And to me, he got the super short end of the stick from Joe Gibbs. Because he's done more than enough to keep that ride, and he's basically getting shoved out of it, much like you talked about with Cindric and Keselowski, which is probably what's going to happen. As far as keeping the 88, that just shouldn't happen. The only reason that the 88 car became a thing was when Dale Jr. came over from DEI to Hendrick in 2008. DEI owned the 8 and would not let Junior or Hendrick take that because Mark Martin took over that ride. So they just added another 8.
Yep, because he said he wanted to make it easier for the fans who had tattoos of the 8 to
Correct.
just put another 8 next to it.
Another 8 tattoo. Yes.
Yep.
So for me, that was the only reason. Dale Jr. was the only reason. Bowman's taken over for that. I think it's time to retire that. I like the idea of continuing the history with the 24 and the 48 and the 3 with RCR, but I just don't think this number has enough historical significance to keep it going, because there was only one reason it existed, and that reason, so to speak, didn't last very long. But I think the best guy you could put in it would be Eric Jones. Much better pick than Corey LaJoie. Not that Corey LaJoie isn't a talented driver, because he is, but Eric Jones got the super short end of the stick, and I think that's a bit of a shove to Joe Gibbs if he goes and joins another top-tier team like that, to send a message that he's not going anywhere and he hasn't deteriorated one bit.
And I see Eric Jones being the – sorry, could I give you 1 second here? But I see Eric Jones being a great fit, and I'm sure Cody will agree. But, we talked about, like, sponsorship being a problem for that fourth Hendrick car. Like, it already is a problem now with Bowman needing sponsorship. Not anymore, but this season he needed sponsors. Eric Jones is a guy who didn't have a lot of sponsors. And, the TRD system kind of shuffles guys out every year, it seems like, as we saw with Suarez and now Jones. It just keeps happening. And it's very annoying if you're a TRD fan to just, like, you get used to these Ford car teams, and then there's a new guy every freaking year. It's annoying. So Jones can drive. He won at Daytona. He won at Darlington, which Cody and I were at. He's won, but I feel like that would be a good fit. I mean, it's almost like another Alex Bowman situation, sort of, to where you have a driver who can win but hasn't been given the best equipment or haven't been given a fair shot to see what he can do. I feel like he's a great fit. Cody?
Yeah, and going back to that same thing with the TRD system, freaking Suarez is now driving a Chevy. Jones is going to be moving somewhere, possibly if he goes to Hendrick, he'll be driving another Chevy. It's like Toyota's trying to build their brand out while these guys are all getting shafted from them, so they're moving all these different places. And yeah, I'm surprised at this point Jones hasn't announced anything. I think he said on Twitter a couple days ago or yesterday that he's expecting something in the next week or two, so we'll hear about that soon. But I'm just surprised because he's won races. He's been pretty consistent at Joe Gibbs, so I'm really kind of shocked that he hasn't got a ride lined up yet. But you got the fourth Hendrick car, you got the 43 still open. I'm sure there's going to be some other cars out there, maybe the 21 at this point, because who knows what's going to happen with Matt. So silly season is ramping up in full effect, and with the new cars, the new schedule, hopefully the new car coming soon, like things are going to be pretty interesting the next couple of years with NASCAR just in general.
And we're going to rev up to a different category now. Brett, what the hell is going on in the NFL, man? I mean, the Titans just went
legitimately, or
the Titans just completely went rogue. I think you
they
showed
go rogue,
me.
they got infected.
Yeah, that too. But I think you showed me a screenshot that said they broke quarantine protocol.
Going rogue. Yes.
Yeah.
They broke COVID protocol and had a private workout. So
while they were all supposed to be quarantined.
Correct. So game forfeiture per the NFL's most recent COVID-19 protocol update. If you break protocol and it leads to a postponement, more than likely you will have to forfeit said game, and you will lose draft picks if it escalates even further. So look for the Bills to go to 5-0 when Tennessee has to forfeit on Sunday.
Which
that might be a hot take at this point, but it hasn't happened. But it's not completely out of the question at this point.
As a Pats fan, what the hell was that game on Monday? I have never yelled at a TV so hard in my fucking life. I was so mad. What? Okay. I think Bill.
Welcome to having a shitty quarterback.
What the fuck is Brian Hoyer doing? The dude shouldn't even be starting on a team. That was the worst display. Okay.
Despicable, disgusting display.
It's fucking embarrassing. Okay. Look, all I'm going to say is Brian Hoyer, he didn't, if you look at his stats, it really wasn't god awful. It's just some of the decisions he made were extremely questionable, especially the end of the second quarter, where he should have spiked the ball and set the Patriots up to be in field goal range to tie the game at 6-6. First of all, had an opportunity to be tied at 6-6 in the first half, where the Patriots had multiple opportunities to get interceptions, and Brian Hoyer, or the defense, they just dropped it. But Brian Hoyer, so he snaps the ball instead of spikes it, gets sacked, and tries to call an invisible timeout that he just didn't have.
He pulled it, Chris Webber.
Like, what the hell? And then I got a Stidham stiffy, and I was so ready for it. Like, Jared Stidham I don't think he did that awful. I mean, from what I noticed, like, he gets put under pressure and he rushes because he panics and he doesn't want to get sacked.
He's a young quarterback.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, what do you expect? That's just going to be something that comes with time. But he had a nice touchdown pass. I'll give him that. It was a good touchdown pass. I screamed like a little girl. It was King Stidham in his own little flesh and blood. And then he threw a pass to Julian Edelman. Jules looked like he was scared to get hit, honestly, Brett. Like, the dude looked, he looked like he was absolutely terrified to get hit. He turns back around and see the defender coming at him. He fumbles the ball up in the air, and it became a pick six, which you feel bad for Stidham because, that wasn't really his fault, and it ended up resulting in a pick six, which looks bad on him. And his second interception, I'll just say he completely underthrew that ball. Like, he lobbed it into the end zone. It would have been perfect if he threw it a little bit harder, and he just didn't, and it fell right into Kansas City's arms, and it was a fucking shit show from there. So, pain. I'm in pain. It was a big bruh moment. You can get your under review bruh merch here at Teesprings. But anyway, it was bad. I want Cam back. And the fact that Cam got diagnosed with COVID, it sucked. And then not only that, the Patriots also pushed their game back to Monday. It was really supposed to be played on Sunday. It got pushed back to Monday in primetime because Cam got, tested positive. And then they said the rest of the Patriots team didn't test positive. So they got on a bus and went to Kansas City.
Two separate planes.
Yeah, two separate planes to Kansas City. And then Stephon Gilmore gets tested positive, and another Patriot tested positive today. Like, they're all starting to test positive now after their trip to Kansas City. And I saw something on Twitter today that saw Stephon Gilmore giving Patrick Mahomes a hug after the game.
Oh, jeez.
So, yeah. So, do we even think the season should go on at this point? Like, completely honest, they're just the COVID protocol is ridiculous right now. The Titans are being shitheads. It's a disaster.
You're getting these coaches not following the regulations. The players, obviously, they're not going to be masked up the entire time, but like, it's just nobody's taking it seriously. Unlike the other sports who are in actual bubbles, these guys aren't. So it's going to break down, and I don't think we're going to make it to the end of the season.
Yeah. Sadly, I gotta agree. My fear is looming, and this is as good as my Packers have looked in quite a while. As far as firing on all cylinders, which they really weren't at the beginning of last year. It was mainly the defense that saved the day a lot of the time. Because there's no bubble and there's no way to do a bubble with the NFL. The only way baseball is doing a bubble now is because there's not 30 teams. Because you have one series at this bubble, one series at this bubble, one series at you can't have 32 bubbles for 16 weeks. So the idea is to create a virtual bubble, which is absurd, but it's what the NFL literally said they were going to try and do, is transport bubbles. And when you're traveling like this, and when people aren't taking it seriously, and you're not in a bubble, so you have to take it 3-4 times as 3-4 times more seriously than you would if you were in a bubble, it's just not going to work. As much as we love football, guys have to do their part, and right now they're not even coming close in some cases.
And just talking about on-field performance, because really what we think about the COVID protocol isn't going to change anything. I mean, so let's just focus more on the on-field performance. Cody.
All we can.
Yeah, well, we can. Cody, what the hell happened to your Vegas Raiders, buddy? I mean, they started 2-0, and now they're 2-2.
And well, we're going to be 2-3 because we play Kansas City next week, so that's not going to be fun
they got
at
the
all.
wagons circled on them last week.
Yeah,
look, that's against a very solid Bills team, though.
I like them. Vegas is all behind them. The stadium looks amazing, but nobody can go to it. It would be much more fun if people could actually go and support the team, but just watching it from the sides, it's going to be a rough season. I can already feel it.
Yeah, so you're in Vegas, so you've seen the stadium, I'm guessing. I guess it's right in the middle of town.
Star?
Yeah, does it actually look like a fucking Death Star?
It's right outside the Strip, and it's massive, and it looks amazing, and it's probably one of the nicest stadiums I've seen in person. It looks really nice.
Is it actually as shiny as it looks?
Have you seen the grass rollout system? Like physically seen it?
Not in person. No, it's kind of pointed away from the highway. So driving past the stadium itself, you see the front entrance. The grass rolls out on the opposite side, I think.
Okay, I didn't
know.
The
grass rollout. I didn't even know that was a thing. That's how
they get the grass in there. I don't know if you saw how they do it in Arizona, JJ, when they built University of Phoenix, but there's a separate kind of basically a patch of land next to the stadium in Glendale where they grow the grass and then slide it in on this de facto conveyor belt and then slide it back out. They're doing the same thing in Vegas, except it's too hot to have a retractable roof in Las Vegas. So the roof is translucent. It's a dome with a translucent roof, and the grass slides in and out. I thought it was going to be turf. I didn't know until 3 weeks ago that it was grass. So
yeah, it's natural. It's natural grass from Arizona. They have it on like a tracked kind of system where I was watching the video they posted on their YouTube channel. It's like it takes a couple hours and it just rolls out from inside and outside. So yeah, they can move it around for different events and stuff.
You said the community is very accepting of the team, though.
Yeah, dude. There's merch all over the place. There's people all over the place wearing Raiders stuff all the time. Golden Knights stuff, obviously with the playoffs recently. They've really adopted the community, and there's people from Oakland who made the trip up for the opening game who are really excited to kind of continue the supporting area, even though they kind of shafted that community. Vegas is all behind it, and it's going to make a lot of money once they can actually start getting people in.
And that's actually nice to see when you think about how like the city of Oakland ended their relationship with the Raiders. It didn't end nice. So it's nice to see them getting back into a community that actually accepts them. Because that could have gone really bad. But the Bills are looking very scary, and that was a close game between the Bills and the Raiders. But fucking, what are they, 4 or 5-0, something like that? Like, the hell? As a Patriots fan, I do not approve of Kyle Allen trying to be MVP. It's unacceptable.
You mean Josh Allen?
Whatever the hell that guy's name, something Allen. I don't know.
Josh Allen.
They're so irrelevant to me. I don't even care.
Somebody's gonna have to win
in your life.
Yeah.
For once in your life, James Jackson, you are not the favorite in the AFC East. Please accept that fact.
I refuse to accept it.
It's happening.
I know. I don't want
it.
Who would have thought
the wagons
Buffalo would have come out on top on this?
I don't want to talk about it because I miss Tom.
I mean, Miami tanked for Tua, and now they're still sucking. The Jets have Flacco, and they're going to suck. And now the Patriots are without Brady, and who knows what's going to happen. So,
I'm glad you brought up. I'm glad you brought up Flacco and the Jets because Sam Darnold got injured, and so Joe Flacco from your alma mater, Cody, of the University of Delaware, Joe Flacco is getting the start. The elite one, Joe Flacco, is getting the start for the New York Jets.
Oh, stop!
How would you not think Joe Flacco is elite?
That's not a meme anymore.
He's an elite quarterback.
No, he's not.
He won a Super Bowl, damn it.
That's all that matters. He won a Super Bowl. He has a ring. It's all that matters, bro. He's elite.
Watch season 3, episode 8 of Gridiron Heights if you need clarification.
Oh, God, yeah.
He is literally denied entry to the elite quarterback club.
Okay, but
It's a
look.
meme. That's all it is.
Let's just say for what it's worth. Is Joe Flacco a backup quarterback or a starting quarterback still in the NFL? When you're
At this
looking
point
at
of his career,
recently,
he's definitely a backup.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, he couldn't even last in Denver, and they have gone through so many fucking quarterbacks lately. Like, they don't even know their identity anymore. Ever since Peyton left, they can't decide who's their quarterback anymore. I think they've had the most quarterbacks of any NFL franchise since Peyton left.
Yeah, the Colts haven't even gone through that many. So,
sheesh.
Left. So, it's been a revolving door. And when you have somebody like John Elway at the head of your operation, quarterback shuffling isn't supposed to happen when you have one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time as your general manager. But, I think Drew Lock might be a good fit going forward, or Brett Rippon, son, former Super Bowl champion Mark Rippon with the Washington football team.
Good save.
Washington redacted.
Washington redacted.
Washington football team. That being said, Joe Flacco is definitely a backup at this point in his career, if that. He's not at all what he was the one year he was even close to good when he won the Super Bowl. Other than that, he's been slightly above average to average to.
He wasn't even good that year, honestly. I would give that to the Ravens defense.
There you go.
The Ravens defense showed up there. That was really what won them the Super Bowl. It wasn't Joe Flacco. I mean, Kaepernick had a better year that year, but anyway. How are your Packers doing, bud? Did they win? I don't even know if they won. Yeah, they won.
4-0.
4-0. Okay.
4-0.
Oh yeah.
How weird is it to see Lambeau Field with no fans? How do you do the Lambeau leap? Do you just fall into the stands?
You just do it.
You just fall into the stands and no one's there to catch you?
First home game. Aaron Jones said that on Tuesday before the Week 2 game against the Lions. He was like, I don't care. I'm doing Lambeau leap. He leaped up there. Nobody was there, but he did it.
Awkward.
I love how Matt Ryan was trying so hard to make that a competitive game.
Oh my gosh.
Matt Ryan
is such a dumpster fire right now.
What the hell is the problem with the Falcons?
Can we get a moment of silence for Matt Ryan and the absolute shit show he's now a part of?
He doesn't deserve one. Atlanta is just a meme. They are the biggest meme in the league right now. Besides the NFC East, it's just so bad.
Glad they didn't get a lead on us.
It was so bad. Hey, look, you would have won anyway if they had a lead on you. But it's how do you blow 2 leads it back to back, and how does your coaching staff still have a job? That is the question. And I've seen people say that
blank.
I've seen people say that they're tanking for Trevor at this point.
Seems like it.
Do you really think Trevor Lawrence would save your franchise at that point? I mean, Matt Ryan isn't that bad. Matt Ryan's still pretty solid. I'll give him that. But.
It's a total team problem is what it is. And just looking at the standings right now, the Giants are right with them, and they need a quarterback. So Trevor Lawrence, God help you, man.
And, I made a slight mistake earlier and said Kyle Allen instead of Josh Allen. Well, Kyle Allen is getting the start for the Washington Football Club. Washington name redacted. Washington football team. But he's getting the start for the Washington football team, and he's been Ron Rivera's guy ever since he joined the Panthers. He was Ron Rivera's guy. He's who Rivera wanted over Cam. He got him, and then when Rivera went to Washington, he took Kyle Allen with him, and now Kyle's finally getting the start. Hoskins is who the front office wanted as their starter. It's not who they're getting anymore because, let's face it, the dude's hot and cold. I mean, sometimes he has a great game, sometimes he doesn't. So, Kyle Allen, do we think he's going to do well, Brett?
No, I think so. And, he's got that familiarity with Ron Rivera, as you said. I think this is a situation in which he's kind of been given a fresh start here. He was kind of thrust into it in Carolina, and now he and Ron Rivera are in their own better situation for both of them, I think. And keep in mind, Alex Smith's going to be the official backup. Dwayne Haskins is getting put down to third on the depth chart.
Is he really? I didn't know that.
Local miracle, Alex Smith is going to be the backup. So
is he actually suiting up then?
Yes. Yeah, he's going to dress. Yeah, he's second string.
I did not know that.
Wayne Haskins, I believe may dress. I don't know for sure if he is going to dress, but Alex Smith is going to dress on Sunday and be the number 2 quarterback on the depth chart. So this is a very similar offense to what Kyle Allen and Ron Rivera ran in Carolina. The only difference being that Kyle Allen has more speed, I think, at least on the edges, than he did in just having Christian McCaffrey there last year. He's got a good stable of guys he can get the ball to quickly. We know his arm talent isn't world class, so it's going to be important to get that quick pass game going for them, which is something that Kyle Allen was very good at last year for Carolina, and that's not something that a lot of people talk about. So I think this is a situation in which he can thrive. Dwayne Haskins, this is another situation where Washington's ownership and Washington's coaching differ on who they want the quarterback to be. And I will go back to this every time. Mike Shanahan, when the 2012 draft came around, wanted Washington had the number 2 pick. He wanted to try and trade up to get Andrew Luck at number 1. However, Dan Snyder wanted a quarterback who was A, black, B, who could run. RG3
got him.
Is what happened to RG3 because Dan Snyder's too lazy to maintain the turf or lack thereof at FedEx Field. RG3 already hurt his knee twice that year. He throws him out there in a playoff game. RG3 tears his knee in half. Now he's a career backup.
You really hate to see it.
Mike Shanahan wanted Andrew Luck the entire time, and Dan Snyder said, no, I want somebody that can run.
Well.
And then we get Dwayne Haskins, who played, 10 games his entire college career? You didn't have a sample size on him. Last year he wasn't terrible, but, he wasn't good either. Same thing this year. As you said, he's hot and cold. He's streaky. You need consistency at that position, especially right now, and I think somebody that has enough familiarity with Ron Rivera and how his system works and how he wants to operate a football game certainly could bring some stability to that position right now that's just not there.
And can we just get a big congratulations to our good friend, Joseph Burrow, who finally gets his first win in the NFL. What has it been, 4 weeks, and he finally gets a win?
Finally.
Like, it takes forever for him to actually get a win, and he actually does it. Like, it took Joe Burrow 4 weeks, the number 1 overall pick, to get a win in the NFL. He tied the Philadelphia Eagles, Cody's second team. But come on. That's ridiculous. Come on, man. 4 weeks? I mean, congratulations, Burrow. I guess we still looking for them 50 or what was it, 30, 35 agency spots for Joe Burrow?
That tie is the only reason the Eagles are at first in the NFC East right now. So
go Eagles, baby. Fly, Eagles, fly. That tie is what saved the Eagles.
Eagles tie.
That's a ridiculous team. That's ridiculous right now. Carson Wentz.
Hey, Carson had a pretty good game last week.
He had a decent game, but come on, he needs more help. It needs protection on that line, and that O-line is not protecting him, and he's going to get hurt again.
No.
He's going to get hurt again.
He has glass bones and paper skin.
Yeah.
One more thing before we transfer over to the NHL is Nick Foles, 9-inch Nick, gets the start. 9-inch Nick gets the start over North Carolina University of North Carolina, Tar Heel, Mitch Trubisky in Chicago.
Garbage.
I was at that draft, and I honestly really hate the fact that
Bears.
How do you go second and play like ass? But look, Nick Foles. Nick
Foles
Foles
is
is great.
Slater.
I don't care what anybody says. I'm just gonna end it on Big Dick Nick for 2020, baby. Okay. And on that, we are moving to the NHL. The Tampa Bay Lightning finally get a win, a Stanley
couple
Cup
wins.
championship. A couple wins, but they finally get a Stanley Cup win. They finally get what they needed, and they seal the deal. Redemption from last year after an early elimination. The Tampa Bay Lightning secure a Stanley Cup championship. And Brett, was it Pat Maroon?
Yes.
Please tell me you saw that photo that he pissed himself. Please tell me you saw that photo.
Oh, yeah. It was on the boat.
Yep, he did. Piss himself on the boat, which is a definite big rig tech move because he's a hometown hero, baby. That's what he does.
Did they freaking wrap the Stanley Cup trophy with Bud Light?
They did indeed.
God, that's
Boat
wild.
Parade. So you have a Stanley Cup parade in 2020. You win the cup as a city in Florida, parade down the freaking water to the Bucks Stadium, and then have Pat Maroon go out there and look hammered, shirtless with his dad bod, and make everybody dad bods around North America pleased and like, hey, if he can do it, I can do it. Thank you. Thank God for Pat Maroon. What a guy.
Good for
Pat
them.
Maroon is what this country needs.
They deserved it after last year and so long. Tampa really needed that. Florida probably needed that for some hockey reasons, but yeah, they definitely needed it. And good for Stamkos. He's been there for way too long, so it just seems like every one of these teams with these long-term breaks in between cups and with these veteran guys finally getting their cups, it seems to continue on. So hopefully that continues next year with Philadelphia. Maybe I hope. Please, gods, hockey gods, please.
Look, I saw a photo of Vasilevsky, and I don't remember who else it was, but they met 20 years ago. And one of them was a kid, and the other one was playing in the NHL, and now they're teammates, and they both won a Stanley Cup final together. Like, they just won the Stanley Cup together. So, all comes full circle. But, Cody, the Vegas Golden Knights just dropped their third jersey. And,
hold on.
Oh, God. What's he doing?
Oh no. Oh, boy.
Oh, God.
I see gold sleeves.
God! Oh, my God! It's the gold jersey! It's the gold third! God.
This works out real great for an audio podcast. Yeah.
Well, they can check out the video stream on
third jersey.
they can check out the video stream on YouTube. But like,
the third jersey's finally dropped. Yeah.
The initial post about the third jerseys, they looked absolutely garbage. Like, it looked too mustard yellow. It was too much. And white gloves. I don't know. I personally don't mind the third jersey, at least from what I saw on their Twitter post. I don't mind it. I wish the alternate or the second logo was on the crest. Like, I want that the shoulder jerseys to be on the chest. I feel like that would have made it look better.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that would have looked much better. But seeing Cody wear it, it actually doesn't look that bad in person. It looks pretty great. I love it on you. Like, does it still have like the tiny details and the Knights logo there? Like, does it have like the little?
Yeah. So they dropped over the weekend. They sold out immediately at the arena. They have a pro shop where they do their practice stuff that they had lines out all of the weekend. They had several different packages. You can get the jersey. They had some golden Adidas package that they were selling for like $700. So they were really making the most out of it. But the jersey itself,
thing to do.
Yeah, the jersey itself looks much better in person. The pictures made it look really like the Pittsburgh mustard yellow type deal, but in person it's like literally just like gold flake kind of design on it. It looks so much better in person.
Gold,
yeah. It looks. I've got the Adidas jersey on it, so it's like the highest quality one, and it looks fantastic. And it's got all still the same details and stuff on the sides and everything the original jersey had. You can probably see it on the crest here. It's got like the patterns and stuff on it as well. It's a nice looking jersey in person.
I just love that metallic gold look to it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm with you, JJ. I wish that alternate logo would have been on the chest, but you know the metallic gold, the sleeve piping being the same as it is. I think that's the perfect thing to do for a third jersey, especially for a team that's really relying on its branding as far as Vegas goes.
And Cody, what was since you went to the pro shop, I think, to get that jersey, what was the reaction from the fans there when they were getting the jersey? Like, I guess they were going to buy it, so I guess they liked it. But like, did they say it looked better in person as well, or no?
Yeah, everybody was enjoying how they looked better in person. The pictures online Twitter weren't doing anything for it. But yeah, everybody was excited to grab them. They were all grabbing them. They had plenty of supply for everybody. Only downside is they don't have numbers just yet with the way production is going right now. They wouldn't have them ready till like Christmas. So all of them are all blank right now, but they had some display ones with like the captaincy and like some of the numbers on them. Looked pretty good. So I think once they're on TV, like maybe in person for the games, it'll look a lot better.
All right, all right. I think that's all I have for right now. I guess Brett, you want to talk baseball real quick, and you want to give your picks for the shit show that was the St. Louis Cardinals this year? You're not doing okay there, Brett.
So much pain, so much pain. Go Rays.
Go Rays.
Oh,
You're not pulling for the Yankees anymore, man?
Come on, man. Come
on.
on.
My life.
They won like 9-3 the other night, so like it's going to be a pretty good series.
Yep.
It's even right now. I think it's 1-1 right now, but
Tampa won last night, so it's going to be 1-1 right now.
I picked the Rays in my bracket, so of course I'm going with them. I think Braves Dodgers is going to be your LCS as much as I'm one of those people that if they beat my team, I want them to win. I think the Padres winning is great for baseball, and I hate the Dodgers for various reasons. Interesting fact. Houston right now, the time of this recording, is trying to close out the Oakland A's at Dodger Stadium upon arrival to Dodger Stadium because the Astros cheated against the Dodgers in the 2017 World Series. Upon arrival, Houston was directed immediately to the visitors' clubhouse. And one Dodgers employee was quoted as saying, "We don't want those assholes anywhere near our fucking clubhouse."
Yeah, I wouldn't want them welcome there either. If you're going to cheat to win a World Series, I wouldn't want you anywhere near it.
If it's Astros, Yankees, and that's the LCS, I'm not a fan of both those franchises. I'll bite the bullet and I'm going to cheer for the Yankees. But I think the Rays are going to be your World Series champion, and Rays Braves will be your World Series. You mark that down.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'll go Yankees Dodgers.
I like Yankees Dodgers too, but I meant to mention something earlier when we were talking about NHL, and it just totally came back to my head here. Hendrik Lundqvist is the favorite to go to the Capitals. Do we feel like that's a good fit for the King Hendrik?
Absolutely. That's somewhere he can win immediately. Yeah.
With Holtby leaving, I feel like it leaves that vacancy for a solid goaltender, and I feel like like I said, they're the front runners. So, as a Flyers fan, I'm not looking forward to it, but
hopefully they don't overpay like they did. Hopefully they don't overpay like they did with Bob in Florida, because he's in the later half of his career. I don't think he should be making that much right now. So
Bob's is a joke, but
I miss him. But
yeah. And as Flyers fans, we're hearing rumors that Patrick Laine could be traded to the Flyers, and we're absolutely hoping for it because we want Patty Laine, baby.
Get him out of my division.
He wants out of Winnipeg, brother.
It's between us and Montreal, I think, are fighting for him right now. But
Montreal don't need him. They suck anyway. Let us have fun.
We didn't trade anything at the draft last night, so I'm concerned.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I'm okay with Forrester as a pick. Well, okay, do you not like your pick, Brett?
What pick?
The Blues pick. I was concerned. I was concerned. I didn't know what your reaction was.
I just didn't see it coming.
I mean, who are you expecting?
I was expecting, I can't remember his name, that German winger. was who I thought, or there was a German winger and then a Swedish defenseman that we were slated to take, and I wanted the defenseman because Petro, we need some organizational depth if our Lord and Savior is not coming back. But I love the pick because Jake Neighbors fits our style. From what I read up on about him, he's a grit and grind kind of player. He's got the skill to go with it, but he's not afraid to get in there and mix it up, and that's something that makes Craig Berube get a little erect because that's his kind of player.
What do we think of Byfield going number 2?
I love it. I absolutely love it. And he's a hell of a kid. He's a hell of a player too. Don't get that. Don't lose sight of that. There's a reason he went number 2, and it's not because of his skin color. He went number 2 because he's a damn good hockey player, and I think he'll do a lot of great things for that organization going forward.
I think I heard the stat yesterday that he was the highest drafted African American hockey player in the NHL.
Yes.
So
He was.
I mean, the dude's a stud. I mean, it was torn between who was going to go second and third, and I'm glad Byfield went second. Obviously, Alexis Lafreniere went first. Do we expect him not to go first? I guess.
They'd be dumb if they didn't. But New York's going to be a scary team.
I noticed some things of like the players who were getting drafted because they did it through the virtual watch parties at each other's house. And I noticed like certain players from certain regions, they did different things. Lafreniere was only surrounded by his mom, sister, and dad. And he was in, I think, a COVID red zone in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So they forbid people from coming to your house. And then they showed the American
whole ass party.
Yeah. and then the American, what was that kid's name? His dad played in the NHL. I'm blanking right now, but he got drafted, and he was in the Minnesota arena, surrounded by a whole crap ton of people.
Yep.
Like it's just kind of amazing to see how different regions are handling the whole situation. But anyway, the NHL draft is done. The NHL season is done. We're stuck with the NFL. NBA is almost done. Lakers are going to win, I guess.
NASCAR's almost done. Everything's coming to an end.
Almost done.
It feels like it just came back.
I know.
We got to wait for the XFL to come back in 2022.
New Year's Day, the NHL will return. Do we get a Winter Classic season opener?
Well, yeah, Winter Classic season opener would be interesting. I know Brett and I are wanting Carolina to have that stadium series still because we want to go to the stadium series, but I doubt we're going to because they're limiting it now. And obviously season ticket holders get first priority over the tickets they do allow. So we're going to be screwed, I think. But, all in all.
That kid's name was Sanderson, by the way, Jake Sanderson.
Yeah, Sanderson is who I was talking about for the American. But, yeah, guys, thanks for joining the podcast for season 2, episode 1. It's been a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun things to talk about. Cody, thanks for coming on.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Brett, thanks for looking handsome as ever. All right, guys, we will see you guys next time for episode 2 of season 2.